What up, world, and welcome to another episode of Black Nerd Fridays. I'm your host, Neal, and you know I got the squad with me. The crew, assemble the crew. It's Suds, it's Mr. Refine. How y'all feeling today?
Amazing.
Great.
That was a long pause right there. I was waiting for everybody to jump in like it's going down. We ready?
It's been a long week.
Cosplay. This mix of Jubei and Daquan. I'm loving it all.
Man,
Daquan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Daquan to me, like I'm gonna get on Daquan because we're gonna have some conversations about that.
Yeah.
But for everybody joining now, thank you for joining. For people watching on the replay, make sure you do a few things for us. Of course, you gotta hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave some comments, don't critique, whatever you want to do. Give us praise. We don't care. We want to have your input so that we can make this show better over and over. We got Suds coming up for the month of September. It's all full takeover for Suds. Then the month after that, October, we're going to leave it up to Mr. Refine. It's going down. We're going to just keep going back and forth because we all have a different taste and different enjoyments that we have with anime, comics, sci-fi, and everything like that. So we're just going to hit the whole gambit. Shout out to everybody who's already been on the show and the ones who constantly want us to come on to theirs. I appreciate that, and we definitely going to reach out more and more. We're going to keep it united because that's what it is. Collaboration over competition, because competition is a collaboration. Let's get it. So what are we talking about? We are talking about, come on, it's one of Mr. Refine's favorites, Ninja Scroll. It's classic. It's classic. It's classic. If you haven't seen Ninja Scroll, and I'm not talking about the series, because even though I did look at the series later on after my first time ever seeing Ninja Scroll, but definitely Ninja Scroll, hands down, way more detail. The mood was a whole different story, and I love how quickly Ninja Scroll went into it. But we will definitely get into our questions as we usually do. But you know what we got to do, even though we like anime, manga, comics, sci-fi, movies, and more. What do we like? Craft beer. Come on, you get with it. So I'm gonna start off with Suds. Suds, what you drinking?
So I had to go with two different beers this time. So had to go with this bad boy. Look at that. Look at how pretty that is. The artwork on this, right? And it's interesting about this. It's called Sumo, right? It's a double IPA, right? What I like about this is that they use mosaic and citrus hops, and it has pineapple and orange flavor. So you know how I feel about fruit. I love my fruit. But what was interesting about this is that there actually was a black sumo wrestler. Did you guys know that? I did not know that. I thought that was pretty interesting. Cool story about him. But the other one that I have is called Data Points. Look at that. Ooh, another double, right? Double IPA. I love this. So I think this is an 8.5, and this guy, I always have a hard time trying to figure out where these ABVs are at on this one, but we're going to try and guess. I'm going to see if I can figure it out. But reason why I picked this one, because I always go for themes, right? This one here, of course, Data Points, I feel like some of the characters, they were just making repeated mistakes. And I feel like there was a lot of information or data points to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, but they didn't listen. But that's besides the point. And then, of course, you go with this. But I also feel like sometimes when you see this type of artwork on things, you have to ask yourself, are we doing any type of cultural appropriation on that? So, and a lot of people will try to sometimes dress up like sumo wrestlers, but there's a lot of history and respect that needs to go into this sport. So, but I want to at least highlight that for something else that came out of Japan.
Out there. That's what I'm talking about.
Just saying. Culture.
Thanks.
Mr. Shout out to culture for real. Mr. Refine, what you drinking on?
Yo, since we watching one of my favorite joints, and it's a classic to me, I'm going with a classic, one of my favorites.
Pulling out the bag, huh?
You got to get this. This is one of my favorites. I keep them in the cellar. They hitting. It's a Belgian that's 11.7%. I don't even want to talk about what I taste when I drink it. It's fire. If you haven't had it, go get it.
Get it.
Man, he only doing one today. All right, okay. I'm gonna do for the first time. I think maybe I do this all the time. First and foremost, shout out to Town Business, Oakland, California. What it do? West Oakland, North Oakland, East Oakland. I see you. Right here we have Infinite Stout Season. Coastal Brewing Company in collaboration with who? Killer Maker. You can't tell me that this can art is not fire.
Dope.
It's going down. Like this Infinite Stout Season is. I'm ready to taste this. This is my first time. Bella Coastal, man, keep doing what you do. And then again, I got another Hella Coastal Brewing Company beer Let's go, man. Shout out to the town, man. R.I.P. Shock G.
Shock
Come on,
G.
man. What are we talking about?
Popcorn. That's
Look
the
at this.
popcorn one, right?
Look at this joint. Yeah, the popcorn one, the 6.5 ABV with the Bay Area, with the Bay Bridge, not the Golden Gate Bridge, with the Bay Bridge in the background. All right. And if you ain't from the Bay, you're gonna learn the day. All right. Look at that can right there. You see the tree. You see the Oakland. You see the oak tree. You know what it is. And Helicoastal over there as well. Come on, let's go, man. Shout out to Helicoastal, Chaz and Mario, man. Love y'all for real. And then last but not least, because I had to do 3 because last time I was slipping. Shout out to Sudz. This is my last one right here. Scarlet. Come on, it sold out. Hit Craft Kings and it went bonkers. You know what I mean?
And one
Park
day.
Brewing Company collab, 12.1 ABV. We in the high ABV life. I see you, Brick. We with it. So, as we usually do. Now let me get myself off of this camera by myself and let's talk like we do. We all, how we start off. At least with me, while I'm still running the show until next month. Did I put the good, bad, and the ugly on here? Damn,
yeah, you got it on here. It's on here. Go ahead.
What did I do with it? Oh, yeah, here we go. You know how it go. We discussing the good, bad, and the ugly, but before I jump into the person who I want to start off with their good, we got to pour up our beers. I see Seth already did it. But me,
I have to jump ahead.
Yeah, I see. I'm gonna start off with this Infinite Stout Season 9.0 ABV. I see. Oh, look at that. That look beautiful right there. All right. Man, look at with the culture glass. Okay, I gotta step my game up, so I'm gonna do this real quick. Don't want to mess up.
Look at that head. There's a good head on there.
Don't mess with that laptop, but I got the Helicoastal beer. Come on, man. What are you saying?
Look at that. He matching the beer with the glass. Come
on. We ain't playing out here. We serious. No. Let me not pour all of it though, because I do got to share with the family though. Let me stop playing.
I'm glad you said Helicoastal, because me and you gonna talk after the scenes about that.
Man, let's do it, man. Helicoastal, what up with you though? Look at it. Come on, look how beautiful that is. Come on.
Yeah,
it's going down.
For the social media manager, because
yeah, always. I got a 4-pack, so we good. We can all drink.
I was gonna say, should be like, seriously.
So yeah, let's get to it. I'm gonna start off with Mr. Refine. What was your good about Ninja Scroll? Because you're such a big fan, I gotta start off with you.
I'm gonna go like this. The cinematography was crazy on there. Just that animation, like the colors, the way that they were using different shadows and scenes, it was just on fire. The storyline was nuts. When I first watched it, I'm gonna say it was probably 20 years ago, somewhere around that time frame. And I was in college, as a matter of fact, a freshman. And it blew my mind. Yeah, I know, I'm giving my age.
You gotta count. Yeah, you gotta count. Wait, what?
It blew my mind. Like, we're just looking at everything that was happening, the action in there, and I just loved it. I instantly fell in love with it so much that I went to search out anything else related to it, which we ended up finding the series. And the series wasn't hitting like that, but Ninja Scroll is a classic. If you haven't watched it, you gotta watch it. It's fire. It's great animation. It's bloody. It's gory. It's guts. It's everything. It's that old Shogun Assassin style sort of anime where you get sliced and you see blood squirting and stuff. That's what I'm talking about. So this is right up my alley. So that's my good on it.
Sudz?
Man, I know I was all up in the camera. I have to say, 90s anime really knew how to say, let's kick up the gore factor. I mean, there were some scenes where you see bodies getting cut in half, and to me, like when the bodies fell from the trees onto the ground and it was raining blood, I was like, come on with it. Like, that's just beautiful, right? But I also think too, like you said, the characters I think were pretty interesting. Some needed a little bit more development, in my opinion. But I do think it was kind of interesting to see how with the bad guys that they each had a strength, but it also played into their weakness really well as well. So to me, I really like seeing how they really thought, oh, we're going to win this. We got over on you. But there was always something else that really caused them to have their own demise. So I think that was pretty cool. But I do want to say there was a lot of nostalgia for me with this. But in addition, I don't know if you guys caught it, but at the end when they were playing the outro music, did it kind of remind you of The Young and Restless, or was that just me? But I mean, I was like, why does that sound like that soap opera from back in the day? But I will say, cinematography looked great. I love the storyline. I do think that there were some cool elements to it, especially with the lead female character and how, they had this, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but just this idea of, yes, she's a woman, and yes, she could be taken advantage of, but she does have kind of a trick up her sleeve. So I thought that was pretty interesting how they played into that. And see, I kept it short. Ooh, I kept it short.
Yes, you did. It threw me off guard. I was ready for more. I was looking at the comments.
Yeah, you looking at the comments on
I
there.
was like, all right, let me make sure the comments is going crazy. So for me, the good was the art style, but not only that, like I love the fact how it was really straight to the point. It didn't really start to veer off into different aspects, like a lot of the Shogun era type of like kung fu and things of that nature. Oh, so there we go, kung fu or that nature, where you see where it's kind of like they try to go beyond the plot line, but this one was straight up, straight to the point. Love the 8 Devils of Chemo. Love that name. And I just was like, it was to me, it was just a great time. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Now I'm gonna go to the bad. I'm gonna start off with Suds. You thought I was going to Mr. Refine, but I'm going to you. Suds, what was your bad?
You know me with my bad. Okay, so my bad, and I'm gonna keep this real short. I'm gonna try. I do think that there wasn't enough development of some of the characters as to why they were choosing to do this. They came a little bit, but it wasn't enough for me to understand, like, why do you want to overthrow the entire government? Like, why do you want to do that? They hinted at it some places here and there, but it wasn't enough for me to really be like, okay, I understand why you're doing it. The other thing for me is with the lead female character. She kept making so many mistakes that to me it was just like, you think you would learn after it. You are supposed to be this deadly assassin. You're like top in your in your clan. People fear you. You're beautiful, and you keep making the same dumb mistakes. I mean, it led to her ultimate demise. But I was just like, we probably could have, you guys could have done way better if she wasn't going off. Oh, let me just run into this head first. And I'm like, come on, why did they? I think in that era they always had the female characters where either they made them very, very cold or they made them very dumb. Right. And it was very rare where it was in between. And I'm just like, where do you have the females where they had a bit of softness to them, but yet seem to be able to think things through? Like the evil characters that are female always kind of have this like upper hand. They're very seductive, but at the same time, they always end up falling because a guy is like, I don't fall for your charm. And when you have the good lead female character, she's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've lost my identity. And that was the thing for me with this. But I do like the fact that she could fight, but I just hate the fact that she kept making simple mistakes. I was just like, I can't do it anymore. Can't do it. And the old guy, Daquan, as I like to call him, Daquan, I don't know how I feel about him. I was kind of on the fence with him because I feel like he was really shady, how he went about things, even pulling in Jubei into this whole thing, which is like really
as government officials are.
I know, right? But it was just like at the same time I understood why he had to do it, but at the same time it's like, come on, my man, come on. Did you really have to go that far?
I got something for that later on down the line for the questions. We're gonna talk about it.
Mr. Refine.
My bad actually would be kind of the same as yours. I didn't like how Kagero was willing to just throw her life away just because of her special talent or gift, if you will, depending on how you look at it. To me, I looked at it more as a gift. I looked at it as a gift more than anything. Specifically in the scene where Tessai, the Rock dude, when he took her, he was sexually assaulting her and stuff, and it ended up backfiring on him. But the point is, I didn't like how she was pretty much like feeling like her life was worthless. Number one, because she didn't get the respect as a ninja from her fellow ninjas in her clan, and then number two, she was a woman, so it just was she was fighting 2 battles. But I didn't like that she was feeling that she had a worthless life, and she pretty much was about nothing. But that's just my take on her, and that's why I thought that was my bad, just her.
Man, I'm gonna keep it 100. Even though I like this group, my bad was the 8 Devils of Chemo. Okay, I was like, they came off in the beginning as like badasses, and I was like, oh, this is fire. I mean, I'll go into like who my favorite character was later on when we get to that question of the 8 Devils of Chemo. But overall, the group, I thought really like they were just some hardcore assassins that was just gonna kick ass, and I was disappointed like the whole time. Like Jubei was wiping the floor with these people like left and right out here, and some of the people was getting killed by each other. Spoiler alert!
Hey, you screwed up. You were messing up. You need to get eliminated.
It was just ridiculous. It wasn't even because of elimination. We're gonna talk about that too. I got that in my notes and reason why on that. But let's move on. We're gonna go, Mr. Refine. We got to talk about your ugly. All right, let's talk about it.
Oh, well, kind of one of my questions I have later on, and I don't want to dive too deep. I'm gonna say there was a lot of manipulation in there, And what I picked up on was based upon the Quan. So I'm gonna just keep it at that. And that's it. We'll talk later on about it because I don't want to dive too much into it.
Gotcha. Suds, you're ugly.
Man, my
Overall.
ugly is overall, and I'm gonna keep it brief. My ugly is, I've noticed that a lot of times when you look at some of these, especially in American movies, the good guy always gets beat up to a pulp and he somehow still ends up winning. And to me, I'm like, does that really make any sense? And so for me, the ugly with this is that at the end, and I know I'm going to put out there spoiler alert, when we had the great battle between Jubei and Genma, to me, you know, the way that he was beating my man on that ship, I'm like, there's no way. And the fact that the dude was immortal, I'm like, you can't really beat this guy, but somehow he prevails. And I mean, there was a point when he was beating him up against one of the pillars, and I'm like, dude, you were getting pulverized, and yet you still come out on this. I don't know. Sometimes I hate when they do that. It's just like either you make it where it's an even fight, or because like it bothers me when they don't let the bad guy win when he clearly is overpowering this other character. So that for me was my ugly.
Okay. I like
that. I like that because my ugly was along that lines, but with Kagero, if I pronounce her name correctly, like definitely that was my ugly. Just the way that she was portrayed. I understand her aspect, and I'll get into it later when we get to that character. But hands down, I was like, didn't like how that was played out. I like how you mentioned Suds, and then I'll stop talking with the how the women that are villains are perceived villains. They always are. It's never like, oh, I fell for a man, or I'm not using my intelligence or my being seductive or whatever the case may be. I'm utilizing all the aspects of my femininity to get to my goal, and I just didn't feel like Kagero didn't. She was like she didn't have a goal in that sense, at least the way that they try to portray her. So that's my ugly. So let's jump straight into it. Because with that is a question we're going to talk about. I'm going to start with Suds. All right. Is what were your thoughts on Kagero as a character? Suds, let it loose.
Let me tell you something. Her as a character, when you read it on paper, girl, it has poisonous skin. So even a kiss can kill you. That to me, it's like, oh, that's fire. That is straight fire. Because it can be something as simple as a peck, right? And you may not kill that person then, but down the road, they'll end up feeling the poison. That to me is just straight up cold, and I love it. Absolutely love that. And I think they tried to play on that with the whole scene where she was sexually assaulted, right? But it was like, yeah, you may be enjoying yourself and enjoying the fruits of her body, but she's got you in the end. And that to me says a lot. And I do think that when they show when she was after the whole ordeal, when Jubei first saved her, and when he walked off, she made sure he wasn't around to see her break down, right? Because again, she was not allowed to show any type of weakness in any moment. But in that moment, she was like, I just was violated to the worst degree ever by a fucking dude that looks like a rock, right? Like he literally looks like the Thing, but bigger and less nice. But the thing is like, that to me, I think it was interesting that she had always that trump card on anybody who came through and tried to do stuff like that with her. But at the same time, her as her full character, when you actually see her in action, she kept making so many mistakes. So the first time you get fooled by, kind of this trap that they laid, and she's like, oh my God, I screwed up. And then you do it 2 more times, and the last time you do it, you end up getting stabbed. And it's just like, when are you going to learn? Like the first time you got fooled, you should be like, every single time from here on out, they are clearly going to be doing some type of tricks. Like they're going to have some type of tricks up their sleeve, and she never learned from it. Now, of course, I usually like it when they say, well, if you don't learn from it, you're going to have to eventually die from it. So I was like, okay, at least they kept that part. But I hate to see that when she finally was starting to get into her own and understand her worth, which although it had to be brought on and be taught to her by a man and not by her own, but I digress. She ends up dying. And that to me is just so frustrating, right? I hate to see when characters learn something and then it's like, oh, well, I'm dead. And it's like, okay, well, great. All right. Well, then what was the point of learning the lesson, right? Like you can't take it with you into the next life. So that was what I felt about her. Like I liked her. If you read about her on just like her introduction of her, it's great. But seeing her in action was just very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Okay.
Mr. Refine.
Yo, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of neck and neck with me. Me and Suz normally be neck and neck with a lot of things. And I felt like Kagero, again, she felt like she was worthless, but also she really had a dope power that she didn't take advantage of. And I was watching her as she ran blindly into a lot of traps. She ran head first just into things that she didn't have to. And to me, personally, she could have did a lot better because with that skill, you have to use your brain. Now, an example would be, first off, when she first walked into the room and it was just a men meeting. And she walked into it was like, oh, what are you doing over here? Don't you got poison you should be testing? And they like talking down to her. But that should have been kind of a motivation to be on your A game when you finally out in the field with them. And instead, she, backtracked and she did a little worse than what she expected. And again, as you said, Suds, she walked into it 2 more times. So I wasn't happy with it, but I did put some respect on her name just based upon her ability alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even going to try to make it any different. I think the way that they attempted to tie in the emotional aspect of isolation, which she had because of her, the ability that she was, again, as a child, they were injecting her with poison over and over again to every type of poison whatsoever. So that's what made her immune to it.
Just
but
crazy.
Because of that, she really was a weapon, and she was a weapon. And I'm surprised Suz didn't jump into that about her being a weapon. And I know, but as men utilize in fashion for that aspect. And I just think that yearning of two things, like not utilizing her ability, because again, she saw that as not an ability. She saw that as a curse for at least how they painted her as a character, because she couldn't even get close to the men that were a part of the same clan that she was. Like, she was a part of that clan, but they just treated her like, you're just a tool for the head, who wasn't even a part of the ninja clan that they were a part of. So to me, that's just really where it boils down to. They were trying to put in the isolation aspect, but then they weren't utilizing the intelligence that I know that she probably had to have just to survive, so that they didn't do anything else to her. But again, because she was poisoned, they really couldn't do anything else to her outside of kill her, because if they touched her, like literally in a way where she didn't even figure that out.
Well,
could I use my poison to where even if they grab my hand, could I secrete something and get them to become poison? Like, none of this was thought of. But if you go into the character who had the snakes, and I wrote her name down, but I'll talk about that later, she literally knew how to use her power in a way that was like crazy. Like, got the snakes hypnotizing Jubei, like didn't even touch him, was about to end his life.
Snakes come out of places that didn't make sense. You're like, where did that snake come from?
She was real about her. So I just wish that they put her in a different light. But go ahead.
The one thing I will want to add to that is, like, when you think about her being able to have any type of intimacy, it was like like just wasn't even able to. But then I thought maybe there was a workaround. If you inject yourself with a certain type of poison, then you could get with her in a type of way, and she would kind of counteract it. But then I'm like, man, that's kind of messed up that you got to literally inject yourself with poison just to be with this woman. And it made me think about Rogue. See, Rogue, if you touched her, right, like, she would take your powers and kind of mess you up a little bit. And it made me think of that. But I'm like, damn, at least with Rogue, she could put on gloves and you can kind of have something with it. But nah.
The only something you can have is a handhold and a hug. But if you got it in, you was dead.
Unless she was Wolverine, But hey, maybe she might find somebody like, hey, Jubei, inject yourself with poison. You can have your fun, man. But nah, But I do want to talk about that when it came to his choice of being able to kind of render himself poisonless. But I do want to talk about that a little bit later.
We'll get there. Let's not jump too much. No, next one. What were your thoughts on the 8 devils of Kimon? Excuse me if I pronounce that. It's probably with just the O.
Not chemo.
No, it's Kimon. It's Kimon.
I kept saying chemo. My bad. See, look at me. That's why I got the team. I'm going to start with Suds. Oh, no, I started with Suds last time. I'm going to start with Mr. Refine.
Yeah.
Yo, I liked them. I thought they was dope. Be honest with you, I only really respected 2 of them. It was Lord Genma. Lord Genma was that boy. And then obviously I definitely respected the blind guy. I liked him a lot. Everybody else was kind of, to me personally, just expendable. They didn't really have too much going on. But they didn't really have much of a mission besides what Genma was kind of making up in his head. And again, I don't want to dive too much because I see we got questions on that later. But they was all right. I just only respected 2 of them. That's just my opinion on it.
I mean, the blind one, man, let me tell you something. They did him dirty. They didn't give him enough time as far as I'm concerned, but that's just my
Exactly.
opinion. The other thing about it is I feel as though there was a lot of, you know, sexual or like relationships that were going on because there was a
it
lot of
was.
shade being thrown around. Oh, so you do know that he likes to. I'm like, whoa, you just throwing his business out there, like,
and he getting it in with Benny Sato.
Benny
you
Sato,
get what I'm saying? So you know he doing that with the, I'm like, I'm sorry, hold up, y'all just putting everybody's dirty laundry out there. But I do think that they were very cocky. They had a sense of hubris to them, and that was their ultimate demise because they felt like, oh, we badass. You can't mess with us, and that led to their demise because Jubei was like, yeah, I may not have the abilities that you guys do, but I can figure out how to get rid of you. Especially like the guy with the one with the hornets, right?
Yeah.
He got way too confident, like, oh, he can't hold his breath that long. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I can't hold my breath too long. I would have died instantly, but I don't know how to swim. That's his other point. But I will say, when he cut, and cut that guy's leg off and he fell into the water, I was like, oh, that was such a cruel way to die. Like, you getting taken out by your own creatures, your own creation.
Facts.
So that to me, I just thought was pretty cool. But at the same time, their hubris was their demise. So they were cool, but they also were just way too cocky for me. Way too cocky.
I like that.
And that's where I'm at too. Like, it was just, again, I was fully disappointed in watching this movie again of how the 8 Devils of Kimon were, because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like real talk for Tesai to me, like, having that armor, like, hands down, like, I'm like, who could do something to him outside of, like, again, going for his eyes and his mouth. And again, if you're a damn rock and you know that the weak points that you have that you can't cover is the inside of your mouth and your eyes, God damn it, put a helmet on. I don't know. I'm just saying. They weren't utilizing their brains, okay? The dude with the beehive, who I wrote his name down, but I'm not trying to the wasp hive, whatever. That was stupid. And then the only one that survived, spoiler alert, is the one with the goddamn that could turn everything into an explosion. And I was like, that is fire. Okay. But I mean, everybody else was just, like you said, to Ren's point, to Sud's point, they were just following along with Genma wanted, and they really just they didn't have any aspirations of their own. They were they were just either I just want to kill or I want to do what Genma says. So that that was an easy one. I'm glad we all agree on that, I guess. The next one. What member of the 8 Devils of Kimon, I missed the O, I mean the N, did you like the most? And I'm gonna start off with Sudz.
Man, listen. If you're talking about their abilities, I think so. Here's the thing. The thing that I thought was pretty cool was, of course, being immortal. I think is pretty cool, right? Because I was thinking, dude, you get cut in half, you get your head cut off, and you're able to just reattach things. That is pretty cool. And I'm like, that's kind of reminds me of like Wolverine, where you're able to regenerate and keep it moving. So really, you could have all kinds of things happen to you, and you would still be able to make it. But the other thing for me was, and I can't think of the guy's name who had the little thin string. That to me was like, you think, that there's some limitations, but Gary Mari. The thing that gets me, you would think there'd be some limitations, but dude had this string that was long.
And it disappeared too, though.
And it disappears when you're done with it. Like that to me, it's like, I wasn't there. You have no trace, like no evidence that I killed this person by electrocution. Like that to me, I thought was pretty cool, right? Like that I thought was cool. So I think their abilities were really, really cool. But at the same time, I mean, I would just say like the ones that I liked were those two because of their ability. And just the fact that when you're thinking about what would be the most useful, I think those two would be, because you could literally, continue to fight in a battle and not worry about losing because you're like, I can never die. And you can pretend to die, right? And 2, have it where you can kill someone from afar and no one would know that you were there. Like that to me, I think it's just dope.
Facts. Mr. Refine.
I'm going with the blind man. Majiro was his name. That's my guy right there. He definitely was lit. Like he's using pretty much what God gave him. He took away his sight, but he got all the rest of his senses to mop you and wash the floor with you. And if he wasn't tricked, I think that he would have did his thing. But I actually appreciated his gifts the most. Everybody else was kind of pointless. Even Yurimaru, he had the string, but he was getting played by his emotions based upon him being attracted to Genma and all that stuff. Like, everybody was pointless to me. So I'm going.
Genma had it going on, you know.
Hey, nah, he was the boss. You know what I'm saying?
He had a harem. That's exactly what the man had. He had a harem.
He sure did have a harem.
No, for me, I like Tessai just because of, again, outside of everybody's ability.
He was dumb as rocks, literally.
Yeah, I know he was dumb, but I'm saying ability-wise. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Ability. No, he was definitely. He went strictly off of just what it was that he wanted. But if you literally lined him up to fight, what was the guy's name with the string, the metal string?
Yurimaru.
Yeah, Yurimaru. He would have electrocuted him, but literally that wouldn't have did anything.
Now if you wrap it around them eyes.
Yeah, but he would have closed. Hopefully, he would have closed his eyes, but maybe not. Benita, the one with the snake. Yeah, Benisato.
Oh, he had a snake.
Benisato with her, even if the snake would have bit him, she would have to bite him when he literally was regular human. You know. And what I liked about the armor is literally, it was almost just like instant. It wasn't really something that took like a long time where he had to wait, really. It just kind of went from top to bottom, bottom and top at the same time. But to me, I just said that way. But definitely other characters that probably were more interesting because Tensai was so stupid off of his emotion. But hands down, I love his ability the most because, again, it really only weak point was him being an idiot. Like that was his major weak point. Straight up. So moving on. Did you think that Daikon was going to fight at any point in the movie? And I'm gonna start off with Mr. Did I start off with Mr. Refine last time? I think I did. So, Suds, go ahead.
No. No. First off, the only time you ever see an old guy an old character like that ever fight, I swear it's such a build up to that point, right? And it's like, God, it's such a letdown because sometimes either they never have him fight, or it's so late in the game that you kind of are over it, and then you go, oh my God, it's like what they did with Yoda. Right? Yoda, you waited for so long. You're like, Yoda, okay, I know you're just Jedi, blah, blah, blah. And then we finally see it. You're like, oh my God. But look how long it took for you to see it. Another person is definitely like, if we watched the Records of Ragnarok, right? Where you had Zeus. Zeus is this old, sunken in guy. And again, but when he starts to fight, you're like, oh, okay, he could actually do something. So I kind of figured they're not going to go this route because this is in the 90s. And this is where he's supposed to be kind of seen as a sensei. He knows more than anyone. He doesn't have to do too much to really showcase his power. And so I kind of figured that he was going to do that. I really figured that he would kind of trick on Jubei in the end. Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking, that they were setting it up where he was a part of that clan of the Shadow Clan, and it was going to say, oh yeah, by the way, I did all this. Yeah, the Shogun, yeah. And just basically going to say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm with them. I just was using you to get to this point. But that's what I was waiting on, but it never happened. So yeah, I didn't figure he was going to fight. I just figured he was going to trick on Jubei in the end.
Mr. Refine.
Nah, listen, he talked too much to be able to fight. Like this dude, he had a nice ability. He can turn into a stick sort of thing and all that. But man, his mouth ran too much. He had no hands at all. He reminded me of the dude. The only difference is I put some respect on the other guy's name. What's the movie we watched? I can't think of it now. With the wild boar that was possessed and all that.
Prince Mononoke.
Yes,
Princess Mononoke.
Reminded me of that guy, that government official sort of person. Like he had no hands. He was pretty much just worthless. He talked a lot, didn't back it up. All he was able to do was run and turn into a stick. So no, I knew he wasn't going to fight at all.
Hey, he was gathering intelligence. Don't knock him too much for turning into a stick. He could stay, even in his old age, he could stay hard.
No. Listen,
in his old age, he could still stay hard. Okay.
Yeah.
He said, "I don't need no blue pill."
Keep drinking. Says it's a good time. But no, seriously, with him, I really thought when the dude from the shadows was trying to get him from the shadows, I really thought he was really about to do something, but he literally just turned into a damn stick and hid. And I mean, the man, I mean, like, and he hit.
I
mean,
got
but
the
respect it.
magic stick.
No, I respect it because he just was like, I'm not moving. Like, he was dead silent. I didn't even know. I thought he went into the rocks, and then I was like, oh snap, he's up in the tree. And I was like, this dude's a beast. Like, this dude. I thought his ability was tight, but I just was like, I wanted that man to fight in that moment. And then when I realized like he wasn't gonna fight at all, I was like, this dude is literally the he's just like the instigator. That's really what he is. And like,
Yeah,
you know, just the instigator that wants to see violence. So let's move on.
Oh my God.
Was the mention? So this one I thought I changed around, but I'll go ahead and mention it. Was the mentioning of the government as a potential threat to the 8 Devils of Kimon significant? And I'm gonna start off with Mr. Refine.
Yes, I think it was. The government, if you will, pretty much is both clans. Well, I mean, that guy was working for the quote unquote government, but both clans, they were kind of feuding. So whoever controls the money, which is how it works right now in real life, whoever controls the money controls the government. So if that other clan pretty much got that money, whichever clan got the money, then they will control quote unquote the government, which in turn would affect him. So if he's getting the money and Genma gets all the money, then he has control over everybody's say so in their decisions. So absolutely, they did affect them, and I understand the motivation behind it.
That was a good answer. That made me delete one of my questions. Suds, go ahead.
I'm going to go the other route and say no. The reason why I say that is because they really felt as though they could actually take over the government. As far as I'm concerned, if you don't feel afraid of someone, you're like, hey, look, as soon as I get this one resource, I'll be able to take them over. I mean, that to me says a lot, right? Like, there wasn't any fear that if I do get this resource and I try to do this, that there's going to be some repercussions. They didn't seem to be really afraid about it. What they really wanted to do was be in that power position, but you need money for that. So to me, the mention of money, right, was really the big thing that was a potential threat to them, not the actual government itself. But you know, that's just me.
I like that.
Suds dropping that heat, and so is Mr. Refine. I'm gonna say to the point, it's kind of like both yes on both of your answers, because to me, the government kind of just sits back and is just like playing the field to make sure that whatever clan that they are working with at the time or that they have authority over or respects their authority, that's what they wanted to win. Because even with Dekan, I was like, I didn't really get it. Like, I was like, okay, the gold mine, but you know the gold mine's important, but yet and still the gold mine was just kind of like distant plot until literally almost the end of the movie. So I was like, all right, so I guess it's really not that important. But then on top of that, even with Genma, as they were talking about the government in general, it was more so just don't have them come right now. So it was almost like they may have outnumbered them, and so that may have played a factor. And I think that was probably the only significance, because the number of people they probably could have gotten to come there. But with the way the team was with the eight Devils of Kimon, I was just like, I mean, I guess like you could have 500 people, but dude ties up string to everybody and electrocutes them. I mean, it's really not really that important. But I understand it was like you didn't want the totality of the government to come, but as far as them being a quote unquote threat, I just really didn't see it. So I just wanted to ask that question on that one. So do you think Genma is really dead? And this was a question from Suds. So I'm going to let Suds start off. Suds?
Listen, here's my thing with this. When you saw that, you know, we learned that when his head was cut off, he was able to reattach it. Okay. You cut off his arm, he's able to reattach it. And then you're like, okay, maybe you just didn't cut enough of him. Like, maybe you need to cut up the middle. Now, the thing for me is, of course, you know, when he cut him, he didn't separate the two pieces, because that to me would tell me a lot. Is he able to at least still come back and live? Or do the two pieces still need to be touching for him to kind of come back together? You get what I'm saying? So, like, that to me was something, because, like, when you think about Wolverine or any other character that can regenerate, they can regenerate supposedly from a drop of blood, right? Or from some small little part of themselves. So, but with this guy, it seemed as though you needed to be in close enough contact where he could still be able to come back together. But then you think about how he died in this movie. He was covered in molten gold. You have to say to yourself, he's going to probably regenerate once it cools down. So is he able to break out of that? Or is he forever stuck? So, like, he's going to regenerate, reanimated, but then die again because he can't eat, he can't feed, type of a thing, right? So does he eventually die because of that, or can he somehow be able to break out of it? But that's something I was really curious about. A part of me thinks that in the first few rounds of him, coming back to life, probably not, but he will eventually probably run out of being able to do that because there won't be anything left of him. That was just my take.
Mr.
You
Refine.
went deep, man. You went right all the way there. Like I ain't even had that. Yeah, I think he did. I think he's dead.
You think he did?
Yeah, I think he's dead. Based upon him being surrounded in gold. I mean, it was molten gold, dropped right into the ocean, lake, whatever, and it cooled immediately. He's not coming out of that. Now, there's a show that we're gonna watch eventually that I'm gonna have when I take over in October. We're gonna talk about it, and there's some parallels between Genma and this person who have similar abilities. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I think Genma's done. I don't see a reason why he's alive and gonna come out that gold. No, it's over for him. It's over.
It's over.
I mean, Genma, I think he's gonna be alive just stuck in that gold, and he's just gonna keep dying over and over again, and he's just gonna keep regenerating. I mean, literally, at least from the flashback that Jubei had, it was more so like a nightmare because he sliced off Genma's head. Genma's head was there, and then in the nightmare he had it where Genma's head was put back onto his body, and then Genma's eyes, his eyes opened, and he started to scream, and then Jubei awoke back up.
Jubei, he came up with a whole new character.
But I know I'm going One Piece out here. Jubei, I got confused, but so yeah, at the end of the day,
your drinks need to be cut off, man. I'm
keeping drinking. Matter of fact, I'm going to this Shock G right now. I already had the sun.
Jinbei.
Jubei. So yeah, that's where we at. It's always a good time at Black Nerd Fridays. Do you think Jubei really had feelings for Kagero? And I'm gonna go with Mr. Refine on this one first. What do you think?
Yes, I do. The main reason why is because when he had the opportunity to lay down with her, instead of him doing it, he pulled her close and hugged her. And then when she died, again, spoiler alert, after run into a trap again, what did he do? He held her and they're talking to each other, the last words, and he's speaking his deepest truth, pouring his heart out. So yes, he had feelings for Kagero. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going. Suds, what's up? What you think?
I don't think so. Let me tell you why. Because I think he cared for her, but not in a romantic sense just yet, right? Because they were only together for like maybe a day or two. It sounded like wasn't that long. Like it wasn't long enough, right? I think he cared for her in a sense of seeing she was a person, she was a woman, and how she was only viewed as a weapon. That's it. People were afraid to do anything with her because of the poison in her skin and her body. And at the same time, she was really good at fighting. And he was like, that's all people saw you for, was what you could do, right? And not for who you are as a person. And so I think he cared for her in the sense that she finally was able to come into her own and feel like, hey, I finally feel like there's a possibility for me. And now that opportunity was taken away from her. And he's like, I'm stuck just doing whatever the hell I want to do. I don't care if I die, but here's a woman who really wanted to try and grow into her own, and that opportunity was taken from her. So to me, I felt as though he cared about her in that way. And the other thing too was when she first told him about the poison in her skin, and she's like, why don't you sleep with me to find out? And he pulled her close, like, hey, I'll do it. I might die afterwards, but I'll do it. And that to me was like, in that moment, he was willing to sleep with her, but she said no. But then when she actually presented herself to him, he was like, I don't want to take it from you because that's what everybody else does, right? And I want to show that I respect you as a person and not do that. So he might have had feelings for her eventually, but I don't think in that moment he did. I think he just felt bad for her.
No, that man had feelings like that. He just thought of her as a homie. And I'm drinking this Shock G.
Ooh, to the homie.
Shock G, Golden Nail, cheers to that. But with the Blackbeard nerd glass. Straight up.
Where's my glass though?
I gotta get you a glass, Seth. I gotta get your glass, definitely. What I gotta say is, you didn't copy yours yet? Oh, come on, you know how the IRS do. You gotta do these tax write-offs. That's true. Real quick, I think to your point, says when he was like, "Oh, I'll kiss you," even though she said I got poison or whatever, he could tell because he could see that she had a lot of emotion that she was attempting to hide, so he knew that she wasn't gonna let him do it. In my perspective, that was a gamble that he was like, I think I've got a 90% chance to win. So he went for it. The other time is like, because he was like, okay, I could do this, but this is not, we're doing this because she may or may not have feelings, but also it may be thing of like a duty because I saved her life. So she's like, I just want to, I'm going to repay you, even though she's already done that. But she was like, I just want to repay you. But he didn't see it as emotions or feelings. And then when she passed away, when she got killed, it wasn't a matter of, oh, I'm starting to like you. It was more so like, I just want you to make sure that you rest in peace and that you get someone to actually show you some type of physical physical love that is not what you have you ever experienced whatsoever. Exactly. And it just so happened that, you know, he wasn't even thinking about the poison at the time, but that really was more so I just want to do it for you so that you can rest in peace, so you can feel love or some type of aspect of what love is.
I got something
before you die. Yeah.
But you know what? I got one question for you. Do you honestly think he didn't think about the poison? Because he probably thought, oh my gosh, she about to die. I need to go ahead and she already knew earlier in the movie.
I'm gonna be devil's. I'm not devil's advocate. I'm just gonna keep it 100. Like, even if he would have kissed her when she was dead, he still would have got the poison off. I'm just keeping it real.
I don't know.
But here's what it comes down to. If he really didn't have feelings, why he went crazy and wiped out that whole army after she died?
Oh man, because that's like she wanted to live. She wanted to have he wanted her to have a life outside of just. He wanted her to see
that man had feelings for her.
Man, all right. For her. Yeah, feelings like you're a close friend. Here goes a hug. But anyway,
that's what it comes down to dating, right? They always talk about men and women when it comes to feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I always wonder. You think so? I mean, if he did, I think it would be nice. And sad at the same time because she never got a chance to really fully experience that. But 2 days in, you're getting.
I ain't gonna say because of 2 days. I'm just gonna be like, this man was.
Let's talk ancient times. Let's talk, and ancient times back.
We die at 30. We die at 30.
But back then, when you, as soon as you met somebody, you're not necessarily in love, but you immediately like,
learn the love.
Married.
Yeah,
let's get married. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, hey man, I hear where you're going, Mr. Refine, but I'm just keeping it, at least in my perspective. Like, it was like, you cool. So moving on. Why do you think Jubei didn't sleep with Kagero? And I'm gonna go with Sudz on this one. Sudz.
This is a question that I had. I was debating on this with myself because I feel as though he was attracted to her. She was a very beautiful woman. But he also felt like if I do this, yes, it would save my life. But again, I would be utilizing her as a tool. And so, and I think he was also okay with just dying. I think he was just like, look, if I die in battle, if I die here, it's fine. You know what? I lived a life. I've experienced things. It's okay. He never really came off like he really cared one way or the other if he saw the next day, right? Like he really didn't. He was just going through the motions. But I think with her, he was like, look, I want to show you a level of respect that you've never had before, because either men would look at you as for your beauty and like, oh man, she's hot. Because you heard another guy say that earlier in the movie, like, man, she's a beautiful woman. And you're supposed to be watching for bad guys, and he like, that girl hot. And you're like, dude, pay attention. He like, but she hot. So like, she's used to that, for men looking at her. And then maybe trying to take advantage of that, but then, dying in the end. And on the other part of it saying, well, we know what you can do, so let's use that to its fullest extent. Let's exploit that. So she's used to being exploited. She's used to being manipulated, and probably never really had any type of intimacy. And if she did, it always led to the man's demise. So for me, I felt like he was like, I know based off of this, what I've learned about you in a shorter period of time, I want to show you respect that you probably have never had before, right? And so he's like, maybe down the road, eventually I might do it, but as if I don't die beforehand. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that you at least experience that before you leave this earth. And that was why I think he didn't want to sleep with her.
Mr. Refine.
He said his mind's telling him no, but his body said yes. I'm just saying.
I agree. I think he did have feelings for her, but I think he also didn't sleep with her for that same reason. He wanted to give her some respect as a human being, not just as a tool. And that's it. Like, I don't need to go into a deep, soliloquy about it.
Yeah, man. Like I said, he's just like, I don't want to be no tool. I don't want you. They even using you as a tool. Like, you got more that you need to learn and live, and that's just what it is. So, with that, we're moving on. I'm gonna put this one up because I saw it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Who was the biggest manipulator and why? That was a nice question, Mr. Refine. I'm going to you though.
Actually, I need y'all to answer that. and then I'll answer after y'all answer. That was my question.
Go ahead,
I think Genma was because from the little hints that they were given about how he was sleeping with different members of that clan, I think he was kind of pitting them against each other, and he knew like, hey, I know y'all will kind of do what I need y'all to do to get to the end point of this. I feel like he was because he had more people to manipulate. A lot of people would probably say Daquan because of how he did Jubei, but I feel like those two were manipulative in different ways. But I still feel like Genma was probably the biggest manipulator in this whole thing because like he was just like, I'm gonna utilize all of you for your own individual reasons of why your different skills work. And at the end of the day, like he never checked in with anybody. He didn't care. He didn't care. He did not care about any of them. He never
checking in. Y'all check in with me.
Exactly. Y'all come talk to me. Right? You didn't see them get into any in type of discussions with them when they were having their little squabble. He's like, y'all got to deal with that, not me. I'm on the bigger things. I want the gold, but y'all gonna do what I want you to do to get to my end goal. That was my take.
I'm on it with Suds. Like as I watched the movie, I was looking to see who was manipulating the situation. I was just like, I mean, Genma just with the eight devils of Kimon, and that was, I mean, that's really what I got. So, Mr. Refine, I'll leave it up to you.
I'm going with Stickman, Mr. Daquan.
I knew it. I knew it.
You can just watch the dude, right? If you sit back, he talks a lot, but he's talking. His mouth is moving faster while his brain is processing things. Number one, he manipulated Jubei. Number two, he manipulated Kagero. Number three, he worked for the government, which also was a huge part of the whole storyline. The dude had his ducks in a row. I don't care what you say. The only time he got caught lacking was at the end when he thought he was sliding off with the goal. Daquan, aka Stickman, was that boy. He was manipulating everybody.
He tried. He tried.
Oh man, I love it. We over here
tried. He was like, hold
Stickman.
Stickman.
No, he did. I mean, like to a degree, but like you don't even know if he really was working for the government or if he's like an anti-government person that's spying for another conglomerate. You don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can understand that. I just like how Genma was just using the eight, and it was not everybody on the eight devils of Kimon. It was just a few of them that he was like, okay, these is diehards. Like to say because of his stupidity, and it wasn't really stupidity. To say just really wanted to kill, have sex, and kill. That's all he wanted to do. Like, I mean, literally. Let's just be honest. So
let's talk about that. Why did every time that Kagero got captured, why was the first thing they were trying to do was sexually assault her? I don't understand that. I don't get it. And the reason I'm asking that is these guys and women were eight devils, if you will. They were supposed to be the top echelon, the creme de la creme. Why are you going after this woman? You took her, and that's your first thing. Like you should have women falling down at you because the creme de la creme. I didn't understand that. I didn't get that at all.
But look at them. Some of them weren't good-looking guys.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because the ladies that they had on their squad,
yes,
one had things coming out of her, and the other one had snakes. How are you gonna get close? You can't get close to that.
Yeah, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about.
But I'm saying, then outside of that, you ain't gonna. What woman gonna want to be with someone who's got wasps coming out his back?
That's a fact.
You get what I'm saying?
But
let's
go back to the village, right? When they took over the village, and
poison the village, though.
Yes, but they set up the poison themselves. They're the ones who did that. So when you take over a village, you're part of your spillage and all that stuff. You pillage the village. You take the women. Why would you wait and take a ninja? Don't you think she might have something going on that make you be a little bit reluctant? Nah, it was dumb.
The reason why is because she was so beautiful. She was so beautiful, and that was the thing. They were like, we've seen ninja women, but you were on a whole nother level.
I mean, come on, let's be honest. How many when we talk about quote unquote people who we think are pretty or good looking, how many times did they get away with stuff, even though other people were like, why did they get away with it? So they were just so captivated by her, and like because so many other people were captivated by her as well, that it was just like, oh, she's creme de la creme.
I gotta get her.
Women. Yeah, because and it's also was like because they weren't. I mean, let's be honest. The 8 Devils of Kimon. What type of game was they really spitting? Nothing. Like what type of confidence or conversation could they really have to talk to anyone? I mean, like they were mass murderers out here. They're not worried about. They're not worried about building a relationship. They worried about taking, killing, drinking.
You talk about mass murderers. You talk about mass murderers, and I mean, if you think about some of the mass murderers we had in present day. I mean, they still are getting people to fall for them. You get what I'm saying? Like, you had Jeffrey Dahmer, who a lot of people thought was attractive.
Charles Manson.
Which is weird. Charles Manson, who's had women still wanted to marry him. You know, that whole appeal, they're like,
but he had game, though. He had mouthpiece, what we call him.
He was charismatic. Very charismatic. Exactly. But what I'm saying is, if you just think about it just at a very simple level, you have abilities and you're attacking this woman. Yes, she's supposed to be the top of the top, but at the same time, she's still a ninja, which again led to your demise because you decided to take advantage of this woman who was also a ninja on top of being beautiful. You knew she was a ninja. Led to your demise. That's why the shadow guy got killed. I think he was lacking a little bit after he did what he did, and it made him vulnerable. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So I feel
hide in the shadows.
A little bit too much.
Oh, yeah. That's a fact. Hey, again, they let the body control their mind and then use their mind to be like, this is an adversary that could kill me at any instant.
But isn't that how they always portray men?
Right.
And isn't that the stereotype with men?
Yes,
y'all think of the wrong body part. You get what I'm saying?
But then even how if we're gonna talk deeper, we'll go to the last conversation. We'll go to the last question. Is that men
figure it out?
Exactly, like men are always taught to be like, you think with your dick and not with your brain. Let's keep it 100. I'm just gonna say it out there, man.
But you know what gets me about that whole thing, and I'm going to speak on this very shortly.
Go ahead. I'm gonna give you the floor.
In society, you guys are forgiven in that piece. It's like, oh well, boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. That is something that is always said. When a woman thinks in that type of way, oh, heaven forbid her. Let her be. If she is sexually liberated, it is such a problem. And I think the biggest thing for me that I thought that really played on this was that I knew a guy who said, I will date and have my fun with women who have had multiple partners, but I will never marry a woman like that. And that to me, I was like, so you're okay with having your fun, doing all these things. You can have all this experience, but your wife cannot.
They're saying
it's a double standard.
Yeah, there's a double standard that, let's be honest, that most men are going to have. And the saying that I heard a lot growing up is that you don't want a lock that can be opened up by all keys. Like
that. At the same time, but you know what? I'm gonna add this piece. Go ahead.
But this is good.
I'm gonna add this piece to it. The thing that gets me, you guys want, I'm not saying you guys, but like guys who say that want someone who's like considered pure, but then complain when she can't perform. How do you think she learns how?
But that's trivial. On the aspect,
like
I'm glad we're talking about this, because I'm gonna probably delete this last question so we're going into that. This is the aspect of where the macho, hyper masculine, like my woman has to be like this, but then she got to be a freak in the bed, but she do like this. And I realize
how is she gonna know that? She needs to learn herself. She needs to learn what she likes.
This is the thing. Says a lot of guys are like, again, when we talk about emotion, at least perspective for me, and this is only in my opinion, when we talk about emotion with men, like when a woman is experienced, let's be honest, Suds, what can a dude experience outside of what a woman can experience from multiple partners? And I'm just speaking on myself, from my opinion. A guy has a penis, right? A penis is to stick. Like what else is a dude doing that can?
I'm sorry, you got other things on your body that you can use.
Yeah, I know, but
you can learn how to build up skills. But if
we're just saying that we're gonna have this conversation, at least from my perspective. Again, only my perspective is that a woman. There could be a guy that I'm just gonna throw it out there. There could be a guy that sucks your nipples so well that you have an orgasm. There can be a guy that you know what I mean, and that person. And it's also about ego and pride that men have to also swallow, which is hard to do. Why? Because again, what are we?
It's amazing. It's hard for y'all to do, but you want a woman to do it.
Because again, here goes that point, Suds. Yeah, but I like how you said that. Because here goes that dichotomy of that situation, because there are women who women talk about hypermasculinity, how negative it is, they feed into that hypermasculinity. So if a man doesn't perform, sexually correctly that it pleases a woman in the bed, then they throw him away. And that's more so of a hypermasculine aspect, because that person may not be able to do what your partner did at that time, because your partner had that experience at that point in time, and your body may not. There's certain things that you remember too about other partner. A lot of times people be clicking on their past to try to imprint that on their current partner, and your current partner is not your past partner. So you got to.
But here's the thing. A lot of people have that in their head, but they don't share with their partner, right? They don't share. They don't talk about. Hey,
I'm deleting this last question because we're going heavy.
Right. Go ahead. Things that worked for me previously that I need you to do. Right. Like, you need to have that conversation. And a lot of times I've seen this in couples, they do not talk about it. And it's kind of like swept under the carpet type of a thing. Like, frequency is a big thing. It's a big thing. You can have it where a woman wants more than a man doesn't. You can have it where it's vice versa, right? They usually like to say in society it's more the other way around, where men will have a higher sex drive than women. But I'm like, that my experience has been quite different. But I think in the sense that
we're going way off the topic, but keep going. All right.
No, that's
what I'm getting at is just
go get it. I mean, go watch it. It's crazy. Go ahead, Seth.
I was gonna say, but that conversation needs to be had, right? And I think in this case, like when you think about the characters in general, the two female characters that were in this anime, like, think about it. One was very secure. Yeah, that's true. But the two that we know were considered to be the seductive ones, right? The two that
Kagero was not seen as seductive, at least by the guy with the strings.
No, he wasn't.
Right. And the thing that gets me is that the one with the snakes, she was confident in hers. And she knew. She knew. She was like, the tattoo's going to get you, the snake's going to get you, something's going to get you.
In fact, the tattoos were fire. I'm not going to lie.
Right? They were. And so, like,
when I was a kid watching this, I was like, what?
You're like, what? But like she was confident in her being, right? And you know, for Kagero, it was more like, well, you know, it was used as a tool. So she never really was able to feel secure in that, right? And so, like, when you think about society for women in general, it's like this idea that if you are secure in your sexuality, it is seen as a threat. It is seen as bad. It's painted in a bad light. And you have to come off as this. You have to come off prude, but behind closed doors, you have to be that confident woman who is sexually liberated. And that, to me, is like, why can't she be that across the board all the time if that's her? Why do you need to sit here and ridicule her and make her feel less than if she feels that way out publicly and behind closed doors? I get that you want to kind of save, right? You want to save some things for your partner, fine. But when you're trying to completely bind this woman down to fit what you need to make you feel comfortable, it's like, that's not right. Because when she comes to you and says, well, you financially are not doing what I need you to do, it's a problem. When she views you as a wallet, it's a problem. If she's viewing you as this masculine man that's going to be protective of her and you don't fit that mold, it's a problem. So these type of things, to me, it's like we have fed into this society, like, assumptions that we need to have of each other, and we are not doing a good job in trying to dispel that. I think we're moving towards that, but again, I think that I thought was pretty interesting when they were showing these two females who were known to be seductive, but they were seeing it in such a different light. See, and I brought it back.
No, but thank you for bringing it back before we end it off. But one was, and Mr. Fine, if I'm talking too much, go ahead and jump in. But one was,
I was going to say something, let you go ahead, rock out.
Oh yeah. No, one was seen as like, oh, you can't touch her at all. Yeah, she's pretty to look at.
She's bad, but don't touch her.
Yeah, she's bad to look at, but like, you touch her, you die, like, for real. And the other one the other one was like, if she was more active, like with the ninja clan that got decimated, if she was there, they would have all been like, oh, wait a minute, who is this? They would, like, she would have seduced them into ways where they all would have died, but it just probably wouldn't have been as gruesome. But it was just that difference in there. And also the way that she could have looked at them too, because it was just a total different thing. Kagero was looking at them as far as like, this is a brotherhood that I want to be a part of because I am a ninja. But when you talk about the women of the 8 Devils of Kimon, it was totally different. Like, they're like, I don't know you. Like, who are you? You're not Genma, so you're subpar, period. So I'm not even giving you time. So they're gonna rush to them, and their attraction, because they're seen as subpar, could have been even more so to go to the two women from the 8 Devils of Kimon than they would be going for Kagero. It's just like, again, when someone says you can't have something, you want it more because you're like, why? You know what I mean? It's very simple stuff, but a lot of people.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? You like, I can't have it, but I want it.
It's genetically embedded in us as a species. I feel. Yeah. Go, Ms. Refine. I'm gonna let you end it. Go ahead and say what you got to say, and we can.
Yeah, I was just gonna be kind of real brief. Like, if you think about Genma, they liked him, they wanted him, they was attracted to him, but the guy also had two sides. He was messing with men and he was messing with women. So normally, I would say in this day and age, like back BC and all that stuff, that was socially acceptable. Right now, you can't say you can do that, and a woman would be okay with that unless she's just with you maybe for a financial aspect. And in this case, he wasn't necessarily a wallet, but he was somebody of security. He was somebody of dominance as far as how he held things together, and he was very good in the bedroom. So they was getting all boxes checked off for them. As far as an emotional partner, no, he wasn't good for that. But
he might not have been good in the bedroom. He just had the power. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, he had a man and a woman that he was rocking with on a regular, and then he had Yurimaru String Man jealous because the girl with the powder that was exploding stuff was sitting there whispering in his ear, like, yo, he messing with Benny Sato on the back, and you know what I mean?
He's like, will you shut it?
Yeah, so it was crazy.
He kills Benny Sato before she even gets a chance to fight back because he was like 2 failures. No, bro, you found out from Kagero that Benny Sato was sleeping with Genma, and you didn't know. So you got jealous and you try to keep your composure face, but you was just being
She did fail. She did fail twice though. You had old dude,
but he was being a cock blocker. Let's just keep it 100. Let's not try to.
I mean, we're gonna be truthful about that, but she did fail. I'm not gonna lie, she did fail because when you had old dude in the grotto when he was sitting there and he had no idea, and dude was slowly sinking into that water like old dude in Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Okay, you know, just slowly sinking into the water.
Into the bathtub.
If it wasn't for old dude, you know, the one throwing that damn star at him, it was a wrap. I think the movie would have ended real quick.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. But well, again, you see how we do, man. Shout out to Sudz, shout out Mr. Refine, man. Shout out Helicoastal Brewing Company, man. Town business all day. The Infinite Stout season. Go see if you can find it everywhere. I don't know. And then Shock G, you got to hold it down, man. RIP Shock G, man. Town business all day, every day. The Trappist, you know, and then Sudz. Can't wait for version 2 of this. The Lemon Yellow,
the first
Scarlet, Scarlet Volume 1.
Scarlet
Volume 1, Oak Park Brewing Company. Hey, this is Black Nerd Fridays. Next Friday is, the month of September is all Sudz, but we will be reviewing The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf. And I mean, when I say that show is fire, if they don't continue that series and make another movie, they are sleeping on that. And they probably making it right now because I haven't seen too many people on social media talk about it. And if you haven't watched it, you're tripping. Like that is fire.
Seriously.
But anyway, it's Mr. Refine. It's Sudz. I'm your host, D. Neal. We'll catch you on the next episode of Black Nerd Fridays every Friday right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. And then we might have to get some IG stuff going in, but we got to get y'all to come over here first. We out.
Peace.
Got to hit that end button. Oh,